Hello, everyone. It's my great pleasure to kick off this event today. And before we start, just give us a few minutes until we settle down and organize a few things. I have the great honor today to be speaking to Will from O2, who's going to tell us a bit more about their sustainability agenda. First of all, I would like to welcome you, Will. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to speak to us a bit more about your work in O2 and in particular how you are approaching the topic of sustainability. Can we start first by learning a bit more about you and your personal journey in the topic? Can you just unmute, please?
Thank you so much for having me. And before I get into it, I'll say it's so lovely to reach out to everybody in Europe. I think with lockdown, it's felt very isolating in the UK, and then throw Brexit on top. So it's good to be with you on the internet this evening. In terms of my journey, I'm really a marketing and a commercial person by background. I came to sustainability through that route. I started in advertising for my sins. I worked at an agency called J. Walter Thompson, which was the world's first ever advertising agency. And then at O2, I've worked in various marketing roles, including innovation, strategy, and product development. But I've never been hugely interested in, selling people stuff. I've really been driven by behavioral economics and how to drive behavior change. And I really believe in the power of brands to inspire businesses to play a broader and more relevant role in the world. So that's sort of my background. In terms of the topic of sustainability more broadly, I've been involved in a number of social impact projects over my sort of history. So in my private life, I am a trustee of one of London's oldest youth clubs, so that serves some of the most vulnerable young people. And O2 has had a long history of doing things in the social area. So I've worked a lot on partnerships to help with digital well-being, online safety, things like that. It was really at the point of turning between 2019 and 2020 where I helped to develop O2's strategy to really change, to really focus on environment and have a next decade of action on climate change. So that's a little bit of my journey. There was no epiphany moment in terms of sustainability, but I'm so motivated to be working on this topic, and clearly there's so much hard work to be done, but I don't mind doing the work because it's obviously so important. Yeah, that's a bit about me.
For those of you in the audience, maybe I can share a personal moment of how I met Will. We were speaking at an event organized by a fantastic agency in London. And what really impressed me was actually the wealth of activities that you have engaged yourself with, and O2 in general has engaged itself when it comes to sustainability. Can you tell us a bit more about your role? Because if someone listens to all the list of projects that you were sharing at that event, it would be hard to believe that it's possible for one team to even be able to capture that much wealth and content within a short amount of time.
Yes, sure. So I head up the sustainability and social impact team at O2, and that's part of our corporate responsibility and sustainability area. We're a small but mighty team, we say, and what we do is we develop our overall responsible business strategy, and that covers really the topics of ESG. As well as what we'll talk about, and I'll get to talk a bit more about environment and our activities there. In society, obviously, digital and technology is so important in terms of, the impact that it's having on families, on our well-being, but also, digital inclusion. This has really been an issue that's been driven out through the pandemic, where there's this divide between the digital haves and have-nots. So we have a responsibility to look after that issue, and then also the team covers the topic of diversity and inclusion as well. And I'm quite proud that O2 has been a real leader in our sector on that. Our executive board has 60-40 female to male split, and we've also introduced some great initiatives like extended paid leave for new dads and things like that. So the role of the team overall is to develop the plan and to govern the plan, really. So I'm lucky that we have a good history in this area. We have lots of support from across the business. So yes, it's a small team, but our executive team are right behind us, and there's a big effort across the business. So we have good accountability. I suppose my specific function, because of my background in the commercial side of things, the strategy side of things, and the communication side of things, is really to shape the strategy and to develop the programs and the partnerships and the campaigns really that will engage people.
Can you tell us a bit more about how do you really influence such a big company on topics such as sustainability? Obviously, any business has quite a well-defined strategy, and this, in the usual case, is about making money. Where does sustainability fit in this whole agenda?
Yeah, I mean, O2 is a huge company. That's absolutely right. We've got 6,500 employees. Our revenue is almost £6 billion, a sort of mind-blowing amount. And our core business is about consumer mobile, but we have a really big and growing business-to-business function, which covers small and medium businesses, but also large enterprise and public sector customers. So yeah, I mean, how do we influence a business the size of O2? Well, we've got a great track record on the topic. I think we've had a track record on environment management for about 10 years. And so that does make our lives a little bit easier, because it's not something totally new that we need to implement. We started by launching O2 Recycle, which was the first in our sector, allowing customers to be able to recycle their phones. And to date, we've recycled 3.3 million devices. We've done many different initiatives, and I think from an energy saving point of view, and our network is our biggest area for emissions, so this is a big thing that we need to influence. We've been buying renewable electricity since 2008, and 100% renewable electricity to power our network since 2019. So we've done a lot in that area, and we've been recognized for that. We're on the CDP A list we've been on that for 7 years with Telefonica. Yeah, it's a broad remit that we have, really, in terms of the areas. It crosses all of our business, but some of the things that I've mentioned there are some of the big topics that we need to look into.
Fantastic. Before I move to the next question, I would like the audience to ask any questions that they might have in the chat function. We're going to cover them at the end of the event. And also, if you have some comments you would like to share about the things you're learning, please feel free to do so. Well, maybe we move now on to kind of the O2 journey on sustainability. You're mentioning a lot of milestones that you've been able to hit, and this clearly has been the result of a lot of involvement of different stakeholders, but resources also put into it. What have been kind of the key steps to kick off this journey, and which were the stakeholders involved? How did this unfold?
Yeah, I mean, so it's we've had this a long track record, and as well as some of the things that I've mentioned, um, I think one of the key things for us has been sector collaboration. So we launched this proposition called O2 Recycle, and I think that was the first one that we did. But then we quickly followed after that with two initiatives where we collaborated across our sector. The first was we called Charger Out of the Box. So we realized that we were selling phones to people, and every single phone box had a new charger in it, right? And so what it meant was there were just millions of chargers lying around that people really didn't need. And so we created a sort of collaborative effort across our different competitors, and we lobbied for the manufacturers to remove the chargers from the boxes. And we did a similar thing, which is called eco rating. So we again worked with our sector to put pressure on the manufacturers to put their ratings on their sustainability and environmental ratings, and also ethical ratings of the technology, so that this became a standard across manufacturers, and it allowed customers to make greener choices with their technology. So I've talked a little bit about the network being the major area for our emissions and the journey that we've been on through renewables. What I would say is that yes, we need to purchase more renewable electricity and use more renewable electricity, but we've also invested an awful lot in energy efficiency as well. So we try to make sure that the network that we operate is as efficient as possible. So we have, for example, this technology called SON, or the sort of nickname for it is sleeping masts, and this means that they power up or power down depending on the demand. So we're really trying to make sure that things are as energy efficient as possible. We work with these critical friends, as we call them, to make sure that our targets are independently audited. We were recognized by the Carbon Trust for the work we do to reduce carbon in our supply chain. We were one of only 3 companies worldwide to get that highest accreditation, and we still maintain those high standards of the work we do to drive down carbon through our supply chain. And yeah, I mean, I think that this is really about environmental management and keeping our house in order. But I think that the real interesting growth area for us is about the enabling role that technology can play in helping to sort of decarbonize the economy more widely. So yeah, I mean, it's I noticed that this topic is called is called Meet the Giants. I mean, this is really standing on the shoulder of many people who've done a lot before, and we know that we have a lot more to do still.
Maybe a question about the flip side of for the successes you mentioned. Has there been any resistance along the way to get all the stakeholders on board? Because you're mentioning a lot of initiatives that fundamentally could change your whole industry, and I absolutely admire the effort, because I think it's such an incredible challenge to address such a deeply embedded into our existence industry when it comes to sustainability. What have been the kind of obstacles on the way?
I mean, I think, of course, there are obstacles, and I'll probably sort of give you the glass half full story first, and then the glass half empty one afterwards. But the glass half full is, it really does help when you've got that history, because it is embedded into our culture and our processes. We have the support of our CEO. I think that is absolutely vital. Having that advocacy from top down, and the executive team. We have great specialists who work on things like energy management that sort of help us make sure we've got all the facts and figures in very good shape. All of the executive team targeted on carbon reduction as part of their overall objectives, and everybody in our company has a objective to support our responsible business plan, including environment. So, people are effectively, remunerated on that. I think that's a really essential kind of systems and processes point. But we need to keep engaging people, and I think our job really is to present the scientific case, to bring the moral case, and to show where the moral case meets the business case as well. And there's increasing focus on presenting the business case, right? And this is about being able to articulate those sort of big macro trends that are going on, whether it's the sort of policy landscape, the sort of changing investor landscape, being clear on the demand that's coming through from our business customers. We're seeing increasingly that there's a more weighting being put on bids and tenders for large contracts on our sustainability credentials. So there's a real, financial incentive to do more. And we have to also, if ever we do marketing activity in this area, we can look at data to demonstrate really what that's delivering in terms of brand benefits and commercial benefits. So, everybody in the business, obviously it's a huge corporate business, but they're all human beings who go home to their families and they want to do the right thing. But, if we want to get this activity on the plan, if we need to get funding to do more, then I suppose the key thing is just to build that really strong business case for it.
You mentioned three stakeholders, so the investors, the consumers, and also the policymakers. Do you feel like one out of the three is a bit more active these days? So where do you feel the most pressure from to change? Of course, you've taken a lot of steps many years ago, but maybe just for the general sense of the industry itself.
I mean, I think we're feeling it from all sides. It's, really, I mean, I entered into this world, knowing it was an interesting and challenging area, but I didn't really appreciate kind of the level of focus that it was going to have. I think, in investor conversations, this is coming up as a big question, all the time. So, what is your sustainability plan? I want to see the detail. And, it's getting to a point now where, we're having to really upskill those people who interact with the investor community so that they really understand the story. But it's great because they're coming to us to say, we need more effectively. I think the customers for us is a really big one. As I mentioned, particularly the business customers. So we can win or lose huge contracts on the basis of sustainability credentials, and we've had feedback that we've won big contracts, and that was the tipping point as well, our history. So that's a big one. I think the policy agenda for us is an interesting one, because unlike different other sectors, we cut across many sectors. So we sort of enable other sectors. So perhaps there's not quite so much of a spotlight on us, but it's going to be interesting heading into COP26. We really want to showcase, along with our sector as a whole, to be honest, what mobile connectivity can do to support, the UK and decarbonisation more widely.
The UK's agenda on sustainability and climate change has been really impressive, with the big steps that have been taken, and also the achievements that have already been accomplished, with the big kind of now close to 50% of the targets have been hit. So that's really impressive. Speaking of targets, maybe we can speak about some that you have set for yourselves. O2 has pledged to get to net zero by 2025. This is really soon. What is the strategy to get there? What can we anticipate in terms of actions from you?
Yeah, so we measure all of our emissions, and we have done for a long time, and I think we take a rigorous approach to that, and obviously that helps to put us on like the carbon disclosure A list, as I mentioned before. So the 2025 target is the target to get to net zero within our own operations, and I suppose just to break it down, our network is our biggest area for emissions. We use 100% renewable electricity where we control the energy. Now, 30% of our network sites are on landlord or third-party sites, so it could be like a farmer or on a building in a city. So the job now is to transition the additional 30% over to renewable electricity, and that involves a lot of auditing, a lot of conversations to make that happen, but also a lot of technical work as well, where we need to kind of enable that renewable supply to get to some of those sites. The other thing is our supply chain. So we have big emissions from the supply chain. Whether it's the manufacture or the shipping of the technology to get to us, as well as the many other suppliers that we have. So I mentioned earlier that we had this target to reduce our supply chain emissions by 30%. I'm pleased to say that we're looking to exceed that. What we do really to influence our supply chain, and what we will continue to do, is we use our group purchasing power, procurement with Telefonica. We insist that there are carbon reduction measures with all of the contracts. If not, then we work with those partners. So it is about collaboration as well, to make sure they've got solid action plans in place. And we've also offered access to our discounted renewable electricity tariff that we get because of our scale to all of our suppliers. So we work with the Carbon Trust and to ensure that we're addressing all of the addressable emissions in scope 1, 2, and 3, and the targets are aligned to the Science Based Targets Initiative. Our group more widely, so the global Telefonica group, has looked at a total value chain target, and they've set down a target of 2040 for that. We're going to work as fast and as hard as we can in the UK to sort of keep raising the bar. But yeah, it's given us some focus. I think setting a fast target focuses minds, and I think that's what it's about. It's about trying to go as fast and as you possibly can.
Yeah, this is really impressive, and I must say, through interactions with other people in the Telefonica group, I've been so impressed with the commitment to social impact altogether, and kind of how these targets are set in a really transparent manner. You clearly are in the lead of basically hitting these targets from the group perspective. Maybe a question that can give people context from the audience about where does the telecommunication industry sit within the whole economy, and what does this mean in terms of decarbonization? We know how different industries influence our environment. Today I was actually sharing an article about the fact that 25% of emissions on this planet come from energy generation, the rest of the 25 come from food and land use. And then there's industry that is sitting with 16%, but like it always is quite of a complex topic for people to grasp. So can you shed a bit of light on this particular topic?
Yes, definitely. And I don't know if it is possible to play a video, but it may be that if I say a few points, we could just run that if people can hear the sound, because that might sort of bring it to life a bit and maybe break up just hearing from me talking about it. But I suppose I think the role that we play, I would say it is twofold really. One, if we look at our consumer retail business and our brand and our scale. So O2 has within its customer base 23 million connections, right? And so you know, that's a lot of technology that we sell, a lot of data that we provide. And of course, you know, we need to make sure that we offer customers greener choices. So, you know, as well as things like recycling phones, we have a big growing second-hand phone proposition. So, you know, trying to support the sort of circular economy side of things. I think we have an opportunity and a responsibility to communicate with customers, to raise awareness of this issue, to use our brand, and also our partnerships. So even touch points like the O2 Arena, you know, this is a great sponsorship touch point. And so I think we have that potential, really, I suppose, to effectively communicate and to help raise awareness of the issue. But then I think the other big topic for us is, as I mentioned, the business to business side of things. And there are two things really to illustrate. One is that a big area for us is enabling digital flexible working. So we've always been real advocates of flexible working. We sell many you know, flexible working digital solutions for business customers. And, you know, that is a great way, obviously, for businesses and for people to sort of reduce the commute and to help with emissions in that sense. The other area is in our Internet of Things business. So we have a big growing Internet of Things business, and the Internet of Things connectivity can support, you know, automation and, you know, enhance productivity and sustainability across many different verticals like manufacturing, energy, health, you know, just to name a few. And so we have active contracts and projects with a number of those in those areas. One big area that we're involved in is smart metering. So we are one of the key connectivity providers for the government's UK smart metering program, and they've hit the 10 million milestone in terms of smart metering in households. And obviously smart meters, you know, allow you to save money, but also to control your energy use. And we have provided the connectivity for a really sizable chunk of that. We're involved in some interesting consortiums as well. So looking at, you know, how data, insights, and you know, can inform things like, you know, urban planning, looking at things like how we can monitor traffic flows and map that against air pollution monitoring, you know, to make recommendations about, you know, where roads need to be fixed, where EV charging points should be placed, and things like that. And I think that's where it becomes quite exciting for us. So
amazing. Maybe we can share the video and see what people's response would be. Perfect. So let's 1 second. So please let me know if you can hear me. Oh,
Thanks for sharing.
that was so cool. It's amazing. It's quite of an impressive agenda. Maybe just to like see immediately, because there's been yeah, people are saying that there was a bit of a lag. Sorry for that, Vipul. And I hope that the message still was able to be shared properly in terms of all the commitments that you're making. I think the video and also your story shows that there's a lot of work to be done. What do you think is for your industry probably the most challenging for those that are maybe kicking off the journey now? I mean, now from the perspective of having implemented so many different projects, where do you see probably a need for people to pay attention when they're setting up such initiatives?
I mean, it varies so much, doesn't it, by sector, and that's something that I'm really appreciating. You know, we hosted a roundtable of some of our key customers, and I think there are certain things that we all have in common, really, which is, you know, where do you start in developing your sustainability plan? You know, how do you identify, you know, where you are on that journey? You know, what are your material issues, and where really can you make a difference? So I mean, those are you know, those are big issues that are common. I think, you know, making sure that people have that buy-in and it's embedded is a really important factor. I mean, I think on that topic, I think for me the big thing is just you know, being able to sort of clearly identify your risks from a kind of sustainability point of view, but also looking at your stakeholders and what matters to them, and then being able to clearly articulate through your business, you know, you know, the strategy and what you can do about it. But you know, it does vary so much by sector. I mean, I think the big thing for me, which it feels at the moment, is, you know, this notion of green innovation and green jobs, right? Which is, you know, how do we, it's a very technical topic, and, you know, how do we, you know, educate people, upskill people, you know, get them, start to build those use cases that kind of can deliver this type of innovation at scale. You know, we're involved in a lot of really great projects and a lot of consortiums, but, you know, I think that the opportunity and the challenge is to make it a bit more mainstream.
Yeah, this is what all of us are aiming for, and I believe that 2020, 2021 have already given us a lot of hope that sustainability is becoming mainstream and kind of the standard of what consumers are expecting. There's quite a few like really interesting questions that come from the audience. Maybe I can start first with one that is about which part of your role at O2 gets you most exciting to come into work or home office every day?
Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, you know, well, I mean, the truth is, you know, in many sort of jobs I've done, I've sort of thought, God, I need to switch off, you know, when I finish my work. But I intellectually, I find the topic so like stimulating. So I don't mind kind of, you know, reading about it and absorbing all of the trends. I mean, I think for me, you know, in particular in the area of technology and ICT, I think, and you know, maybe this is something that we can talk about a little bit more in a while, but the kind of this kind of sort of tipping point where technology can be, there's a rising risk and more emissions coming from it, but also a huge potential. So, you know, it's from kind of to take the words of an author that I love, John Grant, who wrote Greener Marketing. It's about moving from it being not bad to net good. You know, and I think for me, it's that, it's trying to make sure that we really do kind of have that positive future. And I think it's it just feels like, we have to kind of keep moving, and that's really what motivates me the most, I think.
Uh, there's quite a lot of questions from the audience, and I'm gonna just kind of see one that has been mentioned a few times. It's about engagement of employees. So you mentioned a lot of external stakeholders and how you engage them, your consumers who are demanding this, your investors. How about the employees? Are they involved in any of these activities as well?
Yeah, so every employee has this objective to support our responsible business plan, and volunteering and fundraising is a big part of what we do. Obviously, it's sort of quite traditional, but over 2,700 people BC before COVID did take time out to volunteer and fundraise, and so people are pretty passionate about this. We created an employee group, a bit like the Women's Network or the LGBT plus network, called the Greener Network, and we have 500 members of that network now, and so we organize regular talks. So we have everything from letting them know the latest on ESG and ethical investing, right through to kind of composting in your garden. And we use them as a sounding board for our strategy, and also to help to ideate for new ideas. So they are super passionate, and it's really for us about harnessing the passion of our employees. So that's one group that we're involved with. I think the storytelling and the engagement is really important in a huge company like O2, and we have a great communications team that works really hard to make this complex issue more simple and to inspire people, really. So we do put a lot of attention on it, for sure.
So another question comes on the topic of 5G. There's been, so to say, controversy about are people against or for the technology. Is innovation part of the problem or the solution in telecom ecosystems? Do you feel like actually this discussion is a bit tilted towards not being a bit too biased, maybe? How do you think about this topic?
Well, I think about it a lot. Yeah. This is, I think, where the kind of the really intellectual and challenge is at the moment. I think for me it is the key question, or one of the key questions of our time, really, which is with growing penetration of technology and ICT comes growing emissions. And what I would say about 5G is, first of all, I can categorically say it does not cause coronavirus, which was quite a kind of topic in the UK. But on a serious note, it is a super efficient technology in terms of our network. Obviously, we know that there's growth in emissions from data centers around the world, which is enabled in part through kind of mobile technology, but through many other sort of streams, home Wi-Fi, 4K televisions, you name it. I've been encouraged to see some of the moves from the big tech in terms of looking to address it and driving innovation. I'm hopeful that we'll see more. I think for me, it's about reflecting that there is a positive enabling effect of technology. So there have been various reports about the amount of carbon emissions that technology can save, whether it's everyday use of your mobile, saving you from going to the doctor's surgery in your car, right through to the more innovative things, that we're doing, like sort of piloting kind of drones to help to sort of deliver medical supplies. So, you know, I think that if we can deliver all of the use cases where connectivity can enhance automation through, you know, manufacturing, energy, transportation, things like that, I feel very hopeful and optimistic that we can have a positive impact overall. But we don't underestimate the task, and it's definitely a big topic, I agree.
So we're coming to the end of the discussion. I would like to ask a few more questions, just a few final questions. One question from the audience is about the deployment of eSIM cards. This has been, I think, a really exciting topic for people, obviously, in your domain. How do you think about this, and is it far in the future for it to be deployed, and not necessarily only for O2, but just in general?
Gosh, it's a good question, and I'm afraid I don't even have the answer for that one. You might need to give me the details of who's asked it, and I can get back to them.
We can make sure that they get an answer.
I think, you know, there's various innovations that, I mean, I guess it's to do with I don't know if it's to do with the plastic, you know, sort of the reduction. I'm not too sure, but you know, for us, I think there's many innovations like that that do have a, you know, environmental saving, and we capture those. But it's not something that is core to our strategy at the moment. But I'll hold myself up to that, and I'll follow up on that if you put me in touch with the person.
Yeah, please, to the person. It was an anonymous question, so I guess they can share in the chat their name, and we'll make sure that your answer gets to them. Before we move to the last question, I just want to use the opportunity to invite everyone to our next event, where we're going to be having the honor to speak to Catherine Briat from Atos. Atos is also a A-lister on the CDP listing of sustainable companies, and on the 29th of April, she's going to be speaking at 6 p.m. With us to tell us a bit more about how they ended up essentially changing twice their targets, adapting them to an earlier stage because of concern internally about climate change, where they decided that they need to put even more effort on that. So thank you so much. I think my final question would be about kind of your general sensation about the sustainability topic. You have been working on this for a while now, and clearly have identified how different brands have to be supported on going through this transformation. Are you optimistic? Are we going in the right direction, and are we doing it at the right speed?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's real momentum building now. You know, certainly it feels like that. You know, from where I'm sitting, it's incredibly exciting to have that pressure. You know, it's good pressure. You know, I think, you know, we really now are, you know, at the top table in terms of, you know, it's a top priority for our business, and you know, we're constantly having to raise the bar. I think we'll have to, you know, we have to be aware, obviously, that, you know, there's going to be a difficult economic situation now. You know, we're staying, you know, focused on our long-term sustainability goals. It seems like, you know, the business community, and I think that's critical, that we speak to, are also focused in this area. You know, I hope that we don't get a rebound effect in terms of, you know, consumer behaviors. You know, I was very encouraged. I was in a group, we did some qualitative research the other day, and you know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago I would do that, and there was very low awareness of the topic, and I was blown away by how many people were talking about net zero, how many people were giving, you know, many examples of greener choices that they're making, whether it's switching to renewable energy tariffs and things like that. So I feel like it's going mainstream, and I don't know, I have to be optimistic. That's
part
my
of the job. Will, it has been utter pleasure to exchange with you and learn more about the agenda of O2. It's really impressive what you've been able to achieve and what you've set yourself as goals. And thank you for sharing with us all these details and giving us a bit more hope about what's ahead of us.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you everyone for being here, and you can register at the link below for the next event. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.